Okay, everybody. Dren608 here. We are back on to Unconditional Surrender. Sort of a solo playthrough to show you some of the strategies in the main event. I am by no means one of the top players around, but I have seen a lot of this stuff that I'm trying to do actually happen in games, so I thought I might just share it with the rest of the community so you can see how to try and stop things and whatnot. We were in what turn are we in? Well, I suppose I should do my commercial stuff first. So here's the commercial stuff. If you like my, I'm Dren608. I do streaming of Hex Encounter war games mostly, or I do videos of those. I am also doing a stream currently on the new remastered Bard's Tale. Well, not new; it's a couple years old now, but it's a classic role-playing computer game that back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think it was in when it was becoming popular, that I played a lot because it was sort of groundbreaking in its 3D aspect that makes you feel like you're walking down the street and things like that. So that's the other streaming kind of thing that I'm doing. If you like what you see here, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithms in YouTube to get this up when people come searching for videos on Unconditional Surrender. If you really like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notify button, and you'll be able to see when I'm going to upload the next video or schedule the next stream. And then maybe you can attend. I think that's about it for me and my commercials. You'll hear something similar at the end of this session. We are in September of 1940. We had just recently conquered France, and I had a discussion with myself here about Italy had overextended itself, and whether it was worthwhile for the British to spend their surprise attack marker to try and take on Tobruk, or to take the Malta guy and try and take out Tripoli. I felt that there was a chance, not a really great chance, but there was a chance that it could fail going into Tripoli. Not likely to fail going into Tobruk last turn. But my biggest thing was that I would not have the surprise attack marker to do anything with for a very long time. Excuse me. Dust in the air. Okay. So I chose not to do that, and I'm trying to set myself up to defend against the Axis onslaught into the Middle East. It probably should have done one of the other things because it would slow them down, make them fall back and take care of it. But it didn't. So, where are we? Okay, we're in strategic movement. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 1st Panzer, and we're going to head down to the Med. Hopefully I can get an Italian fleet to be able to get across the ocean to pick this up. This could be a problem. See, I should have evacuated. I shouldn't be in Catania. Well, this might be difficult, but we'll try it. And the lovely thing about this game is it will You can actually watch it slowly but surely click along through the hexes that it's traveling to get to the spot that you want it to. The Vasta module that I've modified and whatnot, it's much more like being on the board game, where you have to pick things up and move them yourself. Here, a lot of that can be automated for you. Sometimes that automation is not a good idea. It will fly you over, like in the east, if the shortest route to get where you want to is flying over Russian territory, it will do that and you will trigger East invaded. So you got to kind of watch that sometimes. Okay, so that's their strategic movement. Now the British, is there? See, there's no pro marker in Ankara, but they are going to do. Germans are going to try and take out Bulgaria and get a pro marker in there. Let's go look at the diplomacy co-op. Nobody here yet today, so we're just kind of prepping ourselves along. What's in the diplomacy co-op? So if the Axis gets down Bulgaria, they would add a pro Axis marker. So it would be 1, 2, 3 successes. And 2, 3, and 9. So they would be about a 25% chance to get Turkey in right away. The West won't be able to, the Brits won't be able to pull as long as that political failure is in there. Actually, they'll be fine until Syria, because Syria is not allied anymore, so I'm not adjacent. Because sea borders like this you're not adjacent to being able to do anything. So if I did pull up political failure, what would happen with the British? I'd probably put a pro marker in Spain. I really can't afford to have a two-front war in the Mediterranean. So I don't think, except in desperation, that the British would actually pull, which would leave the Soviets, which is also not a good thing to do. The only country they haven't gotten, let's check their chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only country they haven't gotten was Finland, and they'd just as soon not take Finland. So I think I might have the British skip out, the Russians reload anything the Germans, if they pull not a success, just have the Russians reload the cup and just kind of sit here, because I don't have any pro markers or anything for the Allies to try and add. There is German political failure is basically going to be, we're going to get rid of Yugoslavia pro marker. That's about all we can do. So, yeah, I think we're just going to not do much when it comes to diplomacy time. Okay, that gives us a general idea of what we're going to try and do. With that in mind, the West, from a strategic movement point of view, probably not a lot to do here. I thought about trying to drop something in to Bergen or Narvik to threaten, him here. But he's got his garrison and his infantry, the Germans do, so unless I send a real army there, it's not really much of a threat from a garrison. So, again, that's kind of like, it's wasting production points to no purpose. Especially when I have an airplane here, and I have definitely going to be spending production points here in the Med to get airplane back and keep my fleets up and all that. So, yeah, I think we're going to skip out on a strategic movement for the West. Let's just ignore that. The Soviets, I think they're pretty much everything's in place. Depending on how the Germans come setting up over here, I'm not sure I'm going to stay here on the front line and do a frontline defense. They do have Romania in the war, so that can be a major flanking thing. They start putting like armor and stuff down here. My thought is that a lot of these armies can reach places like the Duna and the Dnieper, or close to it. And then in the end, the most likely thing to do is maybe leave, an army to die in Kishinev, an army to die in Brest, an army to die in Kaunas, maybe one in Minsk, just to kind of slow the German onslaught down when the time comes. Yeah, you lose 4 armies and he gets a bunch of territory, then you'll get 5 armies for the East Invaded event and be along fairly decent defensive lines for that. Try to fight along the rivers for that one turn and then just fall back for the next 3 turns, trying to end up along Volkov, Kalinin, through the North Woods here, down around Moscow to like Tula in the Don. If you can end up there at the end of 41 without having lost too many armies, you might have like 40 will points. And if you got 40 will points going into 42, you have a decent chance. 30, it's knife edge, and if you're down in the 20s, the odds are against you, because if you give up too much, he can just do it with cities and the odd army or two, which he will get because you can't run far enough without giving up enough cities to just let him conquer you. So it's a tightrope thing in Russia. We will see how close I can get the Germans to pulling off a really massive Barbarossa. I got to get, for this to work the way I would like it to work, I have to kick the British out of Egypt, which is not going to be an easy job with just Italians. So that's why I sent the German armor down here. I don't see one for the Russians as far as strategic moves go. I mean, I really don't. By the way, up here there's a number 223-055-755. That is the table number in Board Game Arena. You can, if you sign up for Board Game Arena, it's a free sign up. I actually am a premium member, so I can avoid a lot of the commercials. But it's free otherwise, if you don't mind, getting the odd advertisement now and again, telling you about new games and things. And you can then go look up this table number once you're a member, once you've signed up for PGA. You can look up this table number, and then you can actually scroll around this table at whatever point that I've last saved. The other thing that you can do is, if you're like right now, this is a good point. I will probably save this game so I can send it to people if they want to see it under Board Game Arena. When you save a game, I don't know if a spectator can save it. I haven't tried. I'm going to try that today. But if you save a game, you can reload it, and you have to reload it and play it solitaire. You can't reload it and have somebody join you, as far as I can tell. But then you can reload it, and from a solitaire standpoint, you can try out different things from the same starting point to see what was, what might have been a slightly better play, and it helps improve your overall game to be able to pull up a saved game like that and go, oh, well, maybe if I had tried this, it might have worked out a little better. You can't do anything about the die rolls; those are kind of disparate. But sometimes you can just like play with positioning of where you would put the units and figure out which one might be better. I won't be doing that in this game, but if you come along and spectate, I will try to save the game. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that right now before I start this, just in case we want to come back and do it. And I'll show you how we do the save game. Down here on this little menu thingy, you pop that up and see it says load game, restart turn, save game. So I can go save game. It will pop up. box here. And it tells me that, it's basically making a zip file of this, and it tells you, sort of gives you a name that it's going to do it. It's a GZ archive. It's going to be a zip file manager. And it's going to be, that's what it's going to be called. You can write that down. So I just save that file. And I'm done. Then if I want to, I can open that file in the future. And maybe I'll do a quick session to show you how to open up a saved file. Okay. So let's get this strategic movement for the Soviets. And we're into the Germans' action phase. Now I can't get this armored unit into the Middle East this turn. Right? So I am kind of stuck there. Now I do know what my major issues are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to risk Benghazi with the Italians. Now, knowing my mistake last turn, I'm actually going to move this Italian this way so that if he does decide to do it this turn, I'll have something to respond with next turn. Okay. And then I'm going to take this army and I'm going to put it back into Tobruk. And enter the fort. It does allow the British to do a counterattack here, but I have the Germans coming. So I'm not too worried about that. I can defend halfway decently with my airplane and my armored unit, my tanks marker. So I'm down to 11. Now these guys are essentially a liability at this point. I'm going to have to supply through Tripoli. Oh boy, that's a toughie. I'm going to have to go 369, so I'm not going to be able to do a fleet. Oh, I think I'm going to just stay right where I'm at with the fleets. Like I said, it's going to be tricky trying to get the Germans into North Africa at this point. Okay, now we have to do the other things. One of the things here, there's a British Air Force that could make me have to spend lots of points on my aircraft here. So, well, first off, let's make sure that he has to invade wherever he goes. I go there first. We'll go ahead and move back up here. Because he doesn't have anybody that can invade into C Zone 8, really. I'm trying to conserve my... Do I need to conserve my points? Oh, no, I already rebuilt the surprise attack marker. So I can go sort of bizarro here and try and put all the... what am I doing? Why does it keep moving? I'm moving the wrong things. Moving the wrong parts of the maps here. Okay. So, let's double check. What have I got to build? I have one garrison to build, so where are all my garrisons? I see 3, 4. I know I put one in Norway, 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 5. I should have 6 on the board. Where did I put the 6th one? I've lost a garrison. Huh. Well, okay, we're going to do this. He's going to go take Bergen. I had one opponent that his German, he went and grabbed Strabinger right away and put an airplane in there, and then he had his guy march up here, and he took Trondheim, and then he marched all the way to Narvik and took it, and was marching back. By the time he got back to around Trondheim, I had an extra British army or whatnot. I landed in Burke because he forgot to walk in there and take it. So now I'm a little paranoid about it, and I make sure that I walk in and take it and get myself back out here. The reason why you want to be more centralized like this, later on when the British don't have anything else better to do with their armies, you want to garrison Stavanger and garrison Trondheim. Trondheim is really close to Oslo. Stavanger can cut your supply out of Oslo through Sea Zone 12. So you want to garrison those two ports, make the invasion as hard as possible. If he lands in Bergen, yeah, his airplane, if he brings an airplane in, he can reach your convoy. You'll have an airplane lying around that can kind of take care of his, so you don't have to worry about that too much. And it's easy to block this once they've used up their surprise attack marker. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or you can even rail somebody up, one space away. And that's a long slog down this path, especially if you're both, with the same level of aircraft, and if you're not dealing with armor. I mean, if it's late war, you might not be able to hold on to Norway, but then as the Germans, you probably want him playing around in Norway rather than in France, because it's a longer route to Germany through Norway, right? And what are we doing? So I did that. Oh, I got to him. That's right. I think I'm going to start marching him northward, because it's going to be a long slog to Narvik. I don't think I'm going to be able to waste a strategic move on this guy. A lot of times I will. It just depends on how well I'm getting across to the east. Now, the other thing I need to do, before I forget, I'm going to take this airplane. I'll put him in Stavanger, because that'll give me an advantage on the strategic warfare. And hopefully I can start chipping away at the British production total. It's not going to help much, because if you look on the turn track, what is it? In 2 turns, he's going to get 3 more factories. So even if I would take him down a factory in October and a factory in November, he's going to be up a net 1 factory. Because I've not been doing well in the strategic warfare. Also, I get my submarines in December, so that might help get me ahead of him. But even if I score a hit 3 turns in a row, he's just going to be back at his original number because of that +3 in November. So it's going to be a while before I can take the British down seriously. So if I can't bust through the Middle East and stuff, the British are going to be very robust in their economy, unless I can do something about it. So that's what I'm going to try and do there in the strategic warfare phase. Right now, it's more of a get stuff where it needs to be, fix my mistakes with the Italians. And then the other thing is I need to get, as they say, out of Dodge. 2, 3, 4. Bothers me that I only see 5 garrison units. I must have one in the east. I don't see one in the east. Okay. Well, that's disappointing. Let's see how far this guy can get. All right, this guy can get to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will cover Antwerp if he decides to invade there. Hello, machine. Okay, and then this airplane needs to head to here. And then we're going to head down to the med. This is twofold. I don't need it in the east for a few months. I'm probably going to need it if I get the armored across. I'm going to need to bring in a German airplane across. The German airplane can be a major deterrent to putting something like Force H in Malta, because Force H costs like 5 points to get sorties back on. Airplane only costs 3, so sooner or later I will out sortie him, and then he'll just have something sitting there that he has to take off because he can't afford to replenish it because I'll just keep it pinned. Once you get them up to 4, where you make them go up to 6 and they're down to 2 sorties, airplanes with even 2 sorties can make the thing ineffective, because if it's at 5 sorties, the first sortie will only hit the fleet and he won't have less than 6 sorties, so he can't actually attack an escorted convoy. And so then it becomes kind of a pointless resource drain for the British. And we're hoping to make their resources, be tight. What was I gonna? Oh, yeah, we need to go do the attack, and the kind of was waiting for one of my regulars to show up so that I could see this, but he'll just have to watch it on the replay. So we're going to go ahead and try and take out Bulgaria here. Don't know if this is going to work this turn. It might take me into a poor weather turn to do it. But I'm going to do this now so that I know where to start moving armies when I'm moving in this direction. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate German. It's going to move 1 space, and then he's going to attack here. He's attacking at a +0, and this guy's at a -2. Now he's got 3 movement points left, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, that's not how you do this. I'm not doing too well here. I'm going to undo. So what we want to do first is we want to take this Romanian. And he's going to move to here. And then he's going to attack here, because he can attack here twice. He's at -1 and he's at -2. I can throw a ground support to become a 0 to a -2, which was the same as what the German was to him. But I can do that twice because I have 2 ground supports. Bulgarians have the West has a tough choice here. I could throw this to make it a -1 and hope for a huge split and stop him. Or I can save it for when the Germans come and attack me at +1 to 0 in my capital, and hopefully I can hold for a turn. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to try and save the garrison unit. I don't think it's worth it. So we're just going to let it go. And he rolled a 6. Even if I'd had a 4, if I'd had 3 -1, I would have been a 2. Still would have been a DR. And I was surrounded, so I couldn't retreat. That was the other reason why I didn't bother. Now, the Romanians have to be careful here. If they take this hex, then the Germans can't get into a good position to attack. They're only going to get 1 attack anyway. So I'm not going to take that hex with this Romanian. Oh, I don't know. mean, there's no real good place to go at this point. Well, in case this doesn't work, we're going to be in position to set ourselves up for an assault next turn. Right? That sounds like a good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the remains in a position to be able to assault. I'm going to declare an assault, although that's not what I don't think I'm going to do that. I have to think about that. See, the Germans can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. So I come around here. Now, this is an interesting thing. I could go ahead and go for an assault here. So I'd be +2. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I only have 1 attack anyway, because I only have 4 movement points left, and it costs 3 to attack, 2 for the city, 1 for the guy. So I'm going to go ahead and declare the assault. I'm going to go here. Now I am a +2 to his +0. I could use a ground support to become a +3. But if I do that, I might not see ground supports in forever. Where am I at? When's my next? That ground support will be back in November. And I probably won't see an air support over here for quite some time. Well, I'd be +2, 3, 4. -2. I'll be +2 next turn. Yeah, let's go for it. We're going to go whole hog in. And of course, I told you that this is where the West was going to stop it. Now, this is a neat little feature I found. Didn't even realize was here. You can hover over this, and it will show you the likely results here. So you can see that I have a lot of possible results in my favor as the attacker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Basically, it's a 50-50 shot that I will get him retreat, which is all I need. Which is why you didn't see me surround him. This is important. If you need to take the hex, like in this case, I need to take the hex. If I take the capital, they're conquered. Okay. So I need to take the hex. It's better if you need to take the hex, like, like you're trying to conquer somebody, or you need to cut down their will or whatever, or take a factory. It is better for you to attack with a slightly less plus, like this, +3 to +1, rather than +5 to +1, because if you just get a DR and he's, isolated, he's surrounded, if he's a full strength unit, he'll just flip and sit there. And if he's sitting like in his capital, he's in supply, he'll just flip himself back over and you have to do it all again. If you do it this way, if you get a retreat, he has a retreat path. Okay? That's important. The nice thing about this CRT is you see this like this, you can say, okay, well, what's it look like if I choose not to do this? You can hover over this, and now you can see chances are less. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 and 36, right? We don't really worry about the attacker stops because it's an assault. We only get 1 shot at this. So I think I'm going to go this way, which gives me the 50-50 shot of taking it. But like I was trying to discuss here real quick, is it's important in this game you have to decide whether you need to kill the unit as well as take the hex, or maybe it's just kill the unit, depending on what you're dealing with. Hey, Ravon, Virginia. It's important that if you just, like in this case, I need to take the hex to conquer him, this forces a retreat if I get a DR. If I had somehow put this Romanian like behind him over here, so I had him isolated, yes, I'd be +5, but if all I get is a DR out of it, he flips, He spends his 1 point that he has, flips himself back over, and then you have to do it again, and it becomes very frustrating. It's much easier when you have to just take the hex to make sure you give him a retreat route, and then hopefully you just do it and you're done. So we're going to see if that works. We're going to confirm the attack, and we're going to commit to the attack. And we did. We got our DR. Now, again, this isn't the vassal module. This is BGA will do things like, look, there's only one place to retreat, so that's where I'm going to put him. And then we're going to go ahead and take the hex. Oh, let's add insult to injury. We'll have the Romanians take it. And Bulgaria is conquered. Yay. So, we've thrown a pro marker in the cup. Now, I could put a pro marker in Greece, or I can put a pro axis marker in Turkey. Since we're trying to collapse the British in the Middle East, we're going to go over here to Turkey. We're going to put a pro marker in there. Now, as I discussed earlier, if you take a quick look at the I see you there, Roman. If you've got any questions, make sure that you post them up in the chat. So the Germans have, out of 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, they'll have 4 in 12 chance, so 25% chance. There's a 1 in 12 chance that they'll get a political failure, a chance that they'll pull the area seized. I discussed earlier that I might not seriously consider pulling with the British simply because I really can't afford to have, with a pro axis marker in Turkey, I'm not sure I want to let them be able to put a pro axis marker in Spain because that's adjacent to Gibraltar, and if I pull a political failure, blah, 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 blah. That's not good for me. Although I might have to, depending on what they pull. Like if Germany pulls a political failure, then yeah, both allies are going to pull to try and get rid of this pro marker in Turkey. Because a political failure, by the way, will not remove the pro marker in Turkey. Because it is not adjacent to an active country. But what about Rhodes? It's like Rhodes is across a strait, which is an all-sea hex side, which means it's not a border. And the same thing applies to Cyprus. It's an all-sea hex side. That's not a border for political purposes. So it is a border for triggering certain events like Mediterranean crisis and things like that. So yeah, that it's a border for, but it's not a border for the political thing. It has to be a land border. He was very, very specific about that. I've asked that question a couple of times about different geographical locations, and he's basically like, if it doesn't have if you can't, if it's not connected by land border, it's not a border, and this is not a land border. So, okay, so we took that. We've done our bit there. Now I got to save points because I need to start bringing back my airplanes. I got 5 airplanes, and I want to be able to go in the Diplomacy Cup, so I really don't want to move a lot right here. I want to try and get some of my Air Force back. I might hold off on one of them, be able to move some guys. One thing I want to do is I want to make sure he has no easy invasions, right? So put a garrison there. Still can't figure out where all my garrisons are. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. I've got 1 up here. It's 5. And oh, there it is. 6 to build and 7 on the way. That's right. Okay. I was trying to think that I should have 6 garrisons on the board, but I don't yet. Okay. All right. Do I want to start moving an infantry off to the east? Let's see. We want to save 5 for diplomacy, right? So we're going to save 5 for diplomacy. What am I going to do here? Sir, well, I think I'm going to move garrison. Maybe I'll forego one of my airplanes right now, because I really need to get these garrisons down so I can get these infantry to run away. Because they're going to need to start heading east pretty soon. Well, first thing I'm going to do, this guy here, since he's not on a rail line, I'm going to go ahead and start moving him east and south. I might want him to go towards like Romanian border. Let's see. He doesn't really have an invasion threat this turn. He might have one next turn, depending on where he puts that BEF. So, I can't supply them all. Gotta think about this, because I also have to think about the convoy needs to actually come down some too. And I think I'm going to have to forget a couple of aircraft along the way here, because I really want to get a couple things established. Like this guy needs to head out this way. Yes, that's fine. He's got to go sit in Antwerp. Now, there's certain things with at least my defense of Germany. It's probably flawed, but defending against Western invasions, I tend to have a real German unit sit in Antwerp, a real German unit sit in Brest. I usually have the Africa Army sort of as my mobile reserve in Paris, and then I'll have another German infantry maybe at Le Havre or Calais, usually at Le Havre because that's sort of centralized to wherever he may invade. And then the other ports are hit with German garrisons. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 garrisons. And the reason why I do that, I know it's one extra German infantry in the west, but that one infantry, if it's sitting in in Le Havre, or if I might put a garrison in Le Havre and put the infantry like right here where the first is. Then I can react to him, and if necessary, I can always rail one of those extra infantry to wherever the hotspot is, whether it's like, towards the Middle East, get it down into Italy and get it transported, or over in the east because I need one more unit to try and, break the Russian line. So I have the ability to move it, but otherwise it sits over here, and it's a much bigger deterrent to the British if they're going to face four real German armies. Real German armies with a little bit of air support, even in the face of British with air support, can usually drive them back into the sea, or at least keep them from going anywhere for a couple of turns until they get an armored back, and then they definitely drive them into the sea. So, because you can isolate them with only one surprise attack marker, it's usually not a good idea to attack into France unless it's absolutely necessary for some reason. Usually the British, if they're going to use that surprise attack marker, is going to be to pull off a flanking maneuver, or if the Germans have been, successful in taking Suez or something, maybe they'll use it to try and reinvade there once the German armies all disappear off into the east, and they're only dealing with Italians, which is not a foregone conclusion of actually working either. I'm trying to think of what I should do with the Germans here. Part of me says get moving. Part of me says I've got a unit to build, so I probably should get these guys on the road. I'm going to have a unit to build, so I can build it back here. So let's get these guys on the road towards being able to relieve some of these German infantry of their garrison duties. So we're going to go ahead and move this guy here. Hello. There we go. Move him there. Stop. And we're going to go ahead and move this guy down here. So we're getting close to being able to get my garrisons all where they belong. So hopefully before the end of the year I'll have most of the German army moving east. Because I'm going to need it. Well, trust me, you need to have a big army to try and conquer Russia. Or not conquer it, but collapse it. Okay, and I'm going to sit on my 16. Well, actually, let's think about this. 3 airplanes is 9. Probably have to do 2 airplanes and a convoy, right? Well, I can probably let the convoy go for one more turn. The reason why I want to get the convoy down so quickly, this is another little just sort of psychological thing. A German convoy sitting at like 0 sorties at the end of their turn is always this threat of just, okay, we're going to, bash it through to Antwerp and then invade. Especially if you draw the home fleet off and they're trying to depend on just their aircraft. 2 German aircraft, even attacking into England, can negate that British fighter. Then the invasion is on, and then you have to deal with that. Now, I'm already dealing with that in a different way, in that there's no easy invasion hexes here. Because I put the home guard here to keep him from being able to land and invade into London. He's got to attack me first, because I don't have a ground unit in London. And then I have a guy sitting in Southampton, so that with his tank, he is he's a +1. Now, you're going to see me as the British. I'm actually going to move him out of Southampton and into Birmingham. And the reason for that is if he lands in Southampton, he has to attack across the river and into a city. So that's -2 plus -1 for an amphibious invasion. And -1 for attacking unit. That's a grand total of -4. He can probably get an airplane in there, so he's at a -2. If he has an airplane sitting in Cherbourg, he can drop an airdrop marker on Birmingham. And then I would be -2 +2 for my tank. It can be, it may be a -2 to a -2. If he gets lucky, he gets to retreat me. If he doesn't get lucky, and he's sitting in Southampton all by himself, then on my counter turn, home guard moves 1 space. He's isolated, so I'm now at +2. Plus, the guy from Birmingham making an assault, it's like +3, -1. So I'd be like a +2 to a +2. I might get a retreat, flip him, but he's basically not, he's going nowhere in a hurry. And then hopefully I can recover with fleets and aircraft and a ground unit to, just make this a frivolous waste of a surprise attack marker. So that's the general idea. I am not going to sit in Southampton because an invasion there with a paratrooper, well, actually, it's not that bad. Because I would still end up at -1, and he would still be the -2 +2. I don't know. I have to think about that. I think sitting in Birmingham is a better bet because he doesn't get his fleet bonus if I'm in Birmingham. Yes, he can land in Southampton, but then he can't really move anywhere, and he has to attack and push this guy out. So that's where I'm going to go. I think that's better setup. But I'm still doing Germans, and I'm just trying to do add. I've got 1 guy to build and 9, so that's 10. Got to save 5, so I can actually move 1 more guy if I want to. So I think I'm going to go ahead and move this dude. He's the farthest away, so he has the farthest to go. So we'll just get him moving to the east. I'm lagging down. Wonderful. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to stop there. So I got 1 guy to build. I'll replenish 3 airplane type things, and then I'll have 5 left over. So the Germans are basically done. The Italians are pretty much done. We're going to have to do some supply here. we're going to have to do 4 supply runs, which is going to put me at a very high level there. And then I'm going to have to do 3, 6, 10. This is not going to work out very well. Okay, well, we'll see if we can entice the British fleet into trying to intercept me again. Excuse me again. Oh, I got the sneezes. Sucks. Somehow I think a couple of these people are not real people. I mean, I see a vark.tech, a vor.ong. I don't know what those are after your guys' names. In any event, yeah, I think I'm kind of stuck here at this point. All right, so we're going to pass and see how we do in our supply phase here. We're not going to voluntarily eliminate anything. The axis. Okay, so first off, we'll just supply everybody that doesn't need a convoy. Now we only have to look at the convoys. So we're going to leave this guy at low supply. We're going to go ahead and put the Nor at low supply. Am I going to do the airplane up in Norway? Oh boy, that's a real toughie. What 3 airplanes do I want to do? I want to do the one in Italy for sure. I have a little bit of time to do the ones in the east. So if I did the one in Italy and the one in Norway, and maybe the convoy to get it down to 2 sorties, maybe that's what I'll try to do. I'll let him be at full supply. So now, instead of this guy here being in low supply, I'm going to have the guy in Tobruk, since it's a fort. I'm going to let him take one of the low supplies. So I'm going to, well, I'll do that later. I need to do the full supplies here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the guy who's at low supply. He's going to be the first one to be tried to supply it. I'm going to try and supply him out of Benghazi. Okay, so I'm going to use the convoy. I'm going to go ahead and send the fleet. And we're going to, just go up here. Hello. Room the naval path. Now I have to decide with the Brits, is it worthwhile to try and knock this guy out? Now, keep in mind that the Italians have secure supply line out of Tripoli anytime they want to use it. Okay? So what am I going to gain here? I can knock down an Italian fleet probably to 6 sorties, because I would attack it +0 and he's at -4, right? Because we're in fair weather, right? So I'm at 0 and he's at -4. So I could knock him down. Then I'd be -1 to -6. I might even get that convoy. And then I would be at 4 sorties. Which means I would definitely have to spend some production points. I've got, what, 16? Okay, I've got 16. And I'm going to need to keep... See, I've got 3 convoys over here. So I can play convoy shuffle a little bit. 3, 4 guys. We can go to 4, 4, and 3, and then bring one of them down to 1. That would be 3, 7. Right, gotta bring the aircraft down, gotta bring the fleet down. Probably one of these convoys, that's 10. That doesn't leave me any points to go off gallivanting with the Western Desert Force against the Italians, which I really want to do because I only have 16. Do I really want to have the Med fleet down that low? Might not be able to bring it back this turn. Thing is where it's sitting, it can't really interdict any transport of the German armor. And the reason why I say that is, come on, get out of the way. If he sails next turn, he sails the fleet and the convoy out. Okay? And I attack it, and it goes, okay, we'll just retreat back to here. And then when they bring if they bring the German armor across, if I attack it and hit it, yeah, it'll land here flipped, but I'm not stopping it from getting into North Africa. And then everything will focus on supplying that unit. Oh boy. Well, I know the Italians are strapped for production points this turn, so I am going to go ahead and do this and see if it works. So I'm at a 0 and he's at a -4. So I have to roll not a 1 or a 2. And I didn't. So I got through that. And then we'll go ahead and try and take out the convoy too. And I did not take out the convoy. So I took on 2 sorties. He took on 1 convoy and 2 there. But he's supplied now. Oops, what did I do that for? I just need to get confirmed naval path. So the guy got to be in supply anyway. Quite honestly. Okay, so this guy's going to go through. We're definitely going to send the airplane through Tripoli because we want to keep that in supply. Who's this? That's the 10th who's facing the British, so we want to keep him in full supply. Now I'm up to 4 sorties on this guy, and I really can't afford any more. So I need to bring him back down. So So I guess I have to. Wow, that's a really tough one. Well, first off, we'll just do this. Do the easy thing. I have to supply this. He has 6 sorties, and So there's absolutely no reason to intercept that, because I can't do any damage to it. So there's no reason to worry about that one. Well, I said I was going to have this guy go to limited supply out of Tobruk, right? Because he's protected by the fort, more or less. It saves me a sortie for a turn. If I do 2 more sorties there, I'll be at 6 sorties, and that's not good. I need to be at less than 6 sorties. I want to be down around 2 sorties when my next turn comes to try and do things. Yeah, I'm going to be in sortie purgatory here for a little bit. It's going to be tough. Ouch, ouch, ouch. What do I do? Oh, Constantine, you're there. Yes, I just got it. I'm still doing the September turn. I just got it down to Brindisi. Now I'm trying to figure out a way to get the Italian fleet back over there to pick it up and bring it into North Africa and still be able to keep it in supply. I got aggressive with the British. I went ahead and ran myself up to 4 sorties to put his fleet here in Benghazi at 6, so it can't get out of the way. So I'm trying to decide how I'm going to use up my sorties here, and I think I'm going to have to take a chance on the British going ahead and using their surprise attack marker to attack into Tripoli, and just deal with it if they do. So I'm going to put these 2 guys. So he's going to go into limited supply. We're going to say no supply to him. And we're going to have the 2 ground units go into limited supply and keep the airplane in supply in Norway. And we'll just stop there with them. Goes off and does its thing, and now it's the West. Problem I have with the West is, I've talked about it a little bit there earlier. I'm limited on my production points if I want to be able to do anything in the Diplomacy Cup. I think I'm going to have to skip it, because I really need to try to push these Italians back, I think. Or do I? See, he's got an airplane, I've got an airplane. I have the same quandary. I can't bring an airplane as easily into Malta this time. Well, I can see that the Germans are going to try to do some things. See, the British, if I go and I bang on this Italian here, let's say I get really lucky and, I'm retreating him and retreating him. I can't really go forward, because then I wouldn't be able to if you're here in this space and the Italians are here, and they managed to get you to retreat. You can't retreat back down here behind this ridge because this guy's sitting there. So you have to go here, which means this Italian advances and stops. This Italian comes across and attacks you at isolation. So that's not good. Not good at all. I could attack and take one space, but then that lets the Italians attack with an assault next turn. +6 to +5. Something like that. Sitting where I'm at, it's +5 to +5. Man, this is tough. The instinct is to attack the Italians because Italians are attackable. Right now, he can defend that hex with a 4, and the best I can attack with it is a 5. It'd be 5 to 4, and then be 3 to 2. I don't know what to do. Well, it would use up the Italian air, and I can afford my air more than him. So, yep, we're going to do this. Hello, chirp. Hello, machine. Where are you at? There we are. So we're going to go ahead and attack. British are going all in. They want to move him off that hex, if nothing else. And the Italians are kind of like, I don't want to move off that hex, so they're going to go all in. This will let you see some stuff. So we confirm that. Everybody commits their stuff. It's my -3 to his -4. So naval air combat was a +1/+1. And then he's got to defend or retreat. So he doesn't have a choice. Right? He only had one hex he could retreat to. So I'm going to go ahead and take that hex. I'm going to take that hex. And I'm going to attack him again. And +3. Now, I've seen Germans take a risk here and not play that Italian aircraft so that they could have an extra sortie next turn. And I've also seen a 6-1 split when they did it. If you look at a 6-1 split, if the attacker rolls a 6 and you roll a 1, you're eliminated. Which is not a good thing to have happen to the Italians in North Africa. So I'm paranoid about stuff like that as the Italians. So if I do that, and you look at this, the worst you can get on that 6-1 split is a DD. So I still would be alive, I just would be flipped. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to, everybody goes all in again, +3 to +2. And yeah, we've got an aircraft battle, which is going to be inconclusive. And I'm getting just a little better die rolls than him. But all I'm doing is forcing him to retreat. Now this is the trap here, okay? If I move the Western Desert Force up here and keep attacking, +1 to 0, I am sitting in a situation where he can, on a counterattack, can possibly get me isolated. Okay? That can be a problem. Now, I could bring one of these garrison units up behind me, which would ensure my supply and stuff like that. But I'm not sure that that's a good idea. Because if the Turks come in, one of these guys has got to rail back here after he declares war on Syria. This is the hex right here, just short of the name of the river here. You're on that Orontis, just northeast east of Damascus. That's where you put one of your garrison units. It holds up the Turks for at least 3 turns before they can force you to move, usually. But it will put you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will put me outside of air cover. This is not good. See, if I had flipped him, if I had gotten a DD there, I would move up and try to eliminate him. You know, +1 to -2. But at +1 to +0, I just don't think it's a good place to send the Western Desert Force. So I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm going to say I'm done. I pushed him back. Well, now I could attack across here. What would that be? +0 to +0. Now that doesn't hurt, because if I get there and he pushes me back, I'm not losing. Yeah, let's try that. Thinks about it. And I'm stopped. I rolled a 1. So if I rolled a 6, I've been flipped. Okay, so that ends that. The reason why I went ahead and attacked across that ridge at 0 to 0 is, like, if I get lucky, it's only like a 10% chance at 0 to 0. Not even 10. It's not a 10% chance. It's like 10 and 36, I think it is. It's either 10 or 9 and 36. The reason why you do that, is to, if I can take that hex, this hex here, even if he attacks me from these 2 hexes, I always have the retreat to here and then the retreat to El Alamein. He cannot isolate me. If I went up here, like I talked about, if he attacks with this guy and gets lucky and gets a retreat, I have to retreat to this hex. And then, I mean, if nothing else, this guy can just stop attacking. And this guy comes across the ridge and attacks me isolated. So he gets an extra +2. And I don't want to give him that. British armies are few and far between as it is. And you don't really want to give one up without it. So I'm down to 14. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to spend... I'm not going to be able to go into the Diplomacy Cup because there's something else I need to do up here. Talked about this. I was going to put the Gibraltar guy back here in Birmingham to give him a little bit more protection. Make an invasion far less likely to grab 2 hexes, maybe. See, the other thought is if you have him in Southampton, he might get the hex, but he's done. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave him there. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so now I have... Oops. You're not supposed to let me go back on an attack. Oh, okay. Well, that's weird. Normally it doesn't let you go back through the attack like that. Might be a glitch. You're not supposed to be able to go back on an attack. Although it gave me the exact same result, so maybe it just lets you replay it. Now this is another interesting quandary. He has his surprise attack marker and his airdrop marker, so he could, get ashore here. If he really wants to. He's got to get his airplanes down a few sorties before he does it, but he can do it. Got home fleet to help try and stop supply, if nothing else. This airplane will absorb sorties from the Germans, if nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and try something. I'll see if the Germans want to bite. He's going to use a naval transport. And he's going to go here. Here. Yeah. To here. Now, as the Germans, when this happens, the only thing that you'll see as the axis, if you look now, okay, does the German want to intercept? Notice how the rest of my sea path is not visible to the Germans. So they have to decide. Now, some Germans knee-jerk reaction, convoy unescorted, whack it. Okay, then your thing's gone for 2 turns, minimum. Your surface action marker is gone for 2 turns. And the British have a surprise attack marker too. So maybe you don't want to do that right away. You have to think about it a little bit. Now, a lot of Germans don't realize this, okay? And they miss the fact, they look at this and go, well, he's got to go here, and then he's got to go like into 7 to get, down to Gibraltar, or, he's going to go through the Mediterranean, and I'll have the Italian fleet to intercept it, blah, blah, blah. And they'll just say, no, thank you. Okay? I'm saying no, thank you, because I want that surface action marker in case I decide that I'm going to go ahead and invade into England anyway. And I don't want it to not be around. It's a better threat for me than worrying about this, I think. The other part of me says, it is fair weather. I could do a bunch of sorties, and it would leave him here for a turn. Is 1 turn worth it? Question I have to ask myself is, am I going to use that surprise attack marker to invade England this year? And the answer is probably not until at least poor weather. So that's October, November. So if I lose him for 2 turns and still invade in November or December in a poor weather turn, I'll be fine. You go, poor weather turn, why would you invade in poor weather? It's much better to invade in poor weather because the British fleet and air forces aren't nearly as nasty to your fleets as they are when it's fair weather. Fair weather is not the Axis Navy's time of acting. They're better off trying to do silly things in poor weather. So I am going to go ahead and intercept with the surface action marker. I have to click on a friendly port, it says, which, okay, I know. So there's only 1 port really that can intercept it. And it lets me go. I'm at +1. He's at a net -1. He's +2 for UK, -2 because he's a convoy, and then -1 for sorties. So the British convoys are really powerful. They're as good as the Italian Navy without sorties. So we're going to go commit and see if I get it. I did do a DR2. They are required to go back into a port, right? So this is the trick for the British, is they say, okay, we're going to go back into Belfast. Because that means next time I want to try to move it, you can't stop me. Now you said, why were you moving it to South Atlantic Ocean? South Atlantic Ocean is a really nice place to have the BEF in this situation where you're not quite sure what the Germans are going to do. You kind of think you know what they're going to do. But sitting in the South Atlantic Ocean, it is 3 to the North Atlantic, and then, 4 land on this side of England, 4 land in Belfast or Glasgow, 4, 5, 6, 7 land in Liverpool, Cardiff. Okay, you can even come out of here, North Atlantic, and go into Sea Zone 7 and land in Plymouth, or you can go into Sea Zone 16 and land in Gibraltar. So sitting in the South Atlantic Ocean gives you flexibility. Plus, you also have the ability to go 3, 6, 9, or 3, 6, 7 here, 8, 9 through the canal, 10 into 26, which means you can drop yourself into Haifa, Beirut. You'd have to move some convoys to go into to Egypt, but you get the idea. You can get the BEF into the Middle East. You can get the BEF back home, it's a perfect strategic point to, depending on how the war is going, you send the BEF where it's needed and risk the other front. So that's kind of why I like to put it there. And I also like to this guarantees that I won't see it in October, so now I know what I can do as far as replacements with my 12 points. And you'll see that in a moment. I'm going to say I'm done with the Brits. I really don't have anything else to do. I've done what I wanted to do. Not going to eliminate anything. And if I do this, let me just see the guys that have to use convoys. So it's going to put one guy up to 4, 2 guys up to 4. Yeah, 2 guys up to 4 sounds like a good idea. Yep, we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now the Soviets, I really don't. They're kind of like sitting here waiting to get in the war, you know? Twiddling our thumbs. Not really threatening the Germans in any real way because we're twiddling our thumbs. I don't even know if I have anybody. I don't even have anything to build. So, I mean, I could, when I'm in a real game, if I'm in a 3-player game, they'll see me go take a Russian army, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll take another Russian army, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll take another Russian army, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just moving them so that I can say I did something this turn because I have absolutely nothing to do." But I'm not going to waste our time doing that. I'm just going to go ahead and pass. It's funny to see because they get used to you doing it. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you do that like 3 or 4 turns, and then all of a sudden, like you'll move a guy in love, will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he goes 1, 2, 3, and he's slightly out of position, and they go, they might not pay attention because they're so used to just shuffling him back and forth, just to say you did something, and then all of a sudden he's in a different position, and they're like, "Wait a minute, wasn't he in love?" Lvov? And it's like, yeah, I moved him a couple turns back. I now want him on this river line. And they're like, ah. So then they start paying attention to your moves. They start to try and figure out what you're doing, which can be a lot of fun to play with their minds. All right, we just supply them all. I don't have to use any convoys. Everybody's in supply. Voluntary elimination. I forgot to check that. So, nope, I don't want to eliminate anything. I have seen Russian players eliminate the convoy in Sevastopol for some reason and build it back in Leningrad. And it's like, you don't have a surprise tag marker, so that convoy doesn't do you any good up there. Convoy in Sevastopol can at least like shift people, like maybe somebody's trapped in Odessa. You can like run the convoy into Odessa, grab it, and run it back, to Rostov or, Novorossiysk, Batum. Oh, I see a bunch of notes came through. I'm yakking away. I'm read carefully. Diplomacy variant thread. Very interesting proposals with penalty for axis conquering countries with pro-axis markers. I'm thinking about 3 pro markers for countries with more than 1 factory to activate them and to start game with pro axis markers in Hungary and Italy at the debut. Yeah, that's kind of what they were talking about. I think that's the thing. Sal is something along that line. I think the way he has it, I think the thing he said he was trying to tinker with was it takes, if you have more than 1 factory, it takes 2 markers for either side before they can actually spend a marker to activate it. So it's kind of like a 3 marker thing that you're talking about. That is an interesting debut variant. I'd be interested to see you post up on Board Game Geek your experiences with it, whether it's a series replay or a recap or whatever. Take some notes, see how things work out that way. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing here is because this is the way the game is currently written, the rules. And so this is also pretty much the meta that everybody tries to go for. And it's up to the Western Allies and the Russians to try and foil the meta before it forms. If you don't stop it from happening, it gets to being, I mean, there's nothing you can do if you can't stop the political stuff from coming off. There's nothing you can do as the allies. So what am I going to do? Well, I definitely had to get my air back because we know the British are going to get their air back. I have 8 with the Italians. I really need to get my convoys back. Which is sad because it means I can't get this fleet out of Benghazi. So now I'm going to have trouble trying to get the armor into Tripoli. I probably should have taken this fleet off with the Italians, shouldn't I have? Involuntary removal. Because that would have made it work. So there's a little trick that I should have done that I didn't. Okay, the Germans want to make sure they save 5. They've got 1 to build, so they can do 3 guys. So we want to do this guy because he's, heading down the Middle East. We got to make sure that he's on the mend. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the first Luft that I have up here. Try and make it some of a deterrent about any invasions. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring this convoy down to start making it act like an invasion threat. Okay. And then I'm going to say I'm done because I still have 6 points left. Now the British only have 12, and I really have about 20 points worth of stuff I need to do. So I want to get the first RAF. That's the one in the Middle East. I got to get him down. I really think I need to have Med Fleet down because he doesn't have any. He doesn't have a fleet to escort this guy. So Med Fleet getting down would make me able to intercept him. Oh boy, this is. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. We're going to go with Med Fleet and yeah. Okay, Med Fleet and what now? What was I going to do? See, now I could stop here and be available for the Diplomacy Cup. But it does leave me kind of high on my convoys. Well, the BEF can't get here in a turn no matter what I do now. So wow. What a decision. Bring down a convoy or... So I can bring down a convoy and flip over the BEF and say I'm done. I don't have anything in the build queues. Only the Germans do. So I can do that. Or I can try and be available for the Diplomacy Cup. Now, if the Germans don't pull up the political failure, I can't really pull with the Brits. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do a convoy. I'm going to do the one in Suez. And I'm going to go ahead and flip over the BEF just so I don't have to do it in a later turn. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go in the Diplomacy Cup this turn. The Germans are going to build their garrison unit, maybe. We're going to go ahead and drop him into Metz, I think. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One there, one there, one there, and to back him up. Infantry's leaving just as fast as we can go. Okay, so that's my German build. Now we're diplomacy. Now this is the biggie for Germany. They've got a 25% chance of getting a success, which is what they need in order to make this whole thing be much simpler for them. So they're going to go ahead and pull, spend their 5. And they did pull the political success. So they can activate the Netherlands, woohoo! They can activate Yugoslavia, woohoo! Or they can activate Turkey. We're going to do the activate of Turkey so that we can explore the defense of the Middle East. The British go, oh, you activated. I get to put armies down. Now, I've seen Russians put these armies on this side of the Caucasus and then move them to the Eastern Front, which just lets the Turks walk in and take all these cities, which is just insane. So I don't do that. I put my Russians here. Do that. Oh, come on, confirm. Now I got to set up the. Now this is a standard kind of setup. One of the first things you do, the Turks, is you put somebody in Mersin. And the reason why you do that, the British have a surprise attack marker. They have a guy sitting on a fleet. If you go running the whole Turkish army into Syria and getting way down here, and then the British would go, surprise attack marker 26, take some garrison unit, drop it in Mersin, which is undefended, move it in 1 hex inland, and I'm behind a mountain ridge line, and you're out of supply forever until you fight me off and take back your rail line. So you put a guy in Mersin because there's no point to otherwise. Now, I have several turns before I'm going to have to face the Russians, so I'm a little paranoid about this. I'll let the British go up and grab Smyrna, but I really don't want them on either coast on this thing. And then the rest of these guys go here. He goes here. He goes here. Hello. And he goes here. He's barely in supply. 1, 2, and out the row. And the reason why you do this is if Syria comes in on the Allied side and actually wants to put its armies down. If they put it in Aleppo, you've got it isolated. These guys should be able to take it out even in poor weather. If you don't put it in Aleppo, put it someplace else, they're walking to Aleppo and Syria's conquered. If it comes up with a 1, 2, or 3, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? I can't remember. If it comes up and says, oh, we're not going to put down our armies, well, the British are going to have to rail somebody up here to these mountains. Your guys will move down, take Aleppo, move like this, and this guy goes on a race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To start threatening to come up behind you and cut off your retreat routes and stuff. Okay? So that's why that's all there. I've got 6 turns. 5, 6, 7. There's 8 turns before the Russians can come across my border at the earliest. I will have Turks back there by then, hopefully. This puts some real pressure on the Brits. So this is the classic situation I usually find myself in, although I usually have the BEF sitting in South Atlantic, which I don't have at this point. So, okay, that's us setting up things from diplomacy. Now I'm glad that I chose not to have any points with the British, because that political failure is very large. Now for the Russians, that political failure doesn't mean a bloody thing. Finn comes in. He doesn't care. That's the only country that can come in now that's on his borders, because everybody else is either active or conquered. So he's going to go ahead and spend his 5 and go ahead and pull and see what he gets. And he pulled a no event. So now at this point, the Germans really want to try to get one more success out of all this nonsense. So let's check what the weather is. It's poor everywhere. So it's going to be poor weather in north of the desert line up here. So we're going to go ahead and declare war on, do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm already at 7, so I can go up to 2 more declarations of war and not affect my strategic warfare against the Soviets. So since I'm already over the 6 limit, I'm going to be he's going to be +3 against me anyway. I'm going to go ahead and declare war on Vichy Syria. Yes, I want to declare war on them. And it comes over here and shows us the die roll. And it says, declare war on them. It rolled a 3. And a 3 or less means that they'll actually place their unit. Now, there's no good placement here, okay? You've got 1 garrison unit, and they're already set up to have you isolated. But you might as well put it there and at least make him roll the die once, right? It's terrible. It's horrible. There's times I wish I played with the variant, that this game had the variant counter option so that you could at least have 2 units in Vichy Syria to deal with. But, yeah, it is what it is. This is going to put a huge strain on the British. And that's it, 1 war at a time. Now, I am going to give 1 to Turkey. I'm going to give 1 to the Italians to try and help them get their fleet stuff straightened out. I don't think the Romanians need 1 right now. There's no point for me giving a point to the Syrians. Neither one of us have anything to play, but he's +3 to my 0. So I have a feeling I'm going to start losing some factories here. Yep. 5 + 3 to my 3. So the strategic warfare starts. Strategic movement with the Axis. Now, the real question here is, do I think I can get the German armored into North Africa this turn? Oh. I can probably get it into Benghazi. If I can get it in anywhere. So we're in poor weather. So the British fleet is +2 for British, -2 for the weather, and -2 for this. They're starting off at -2. Interesting. I'd be -7. If I try to move this convoy. So if bring it in at all, it's got to come in through to Benghazi. I really can't do a lot with the Italians then. Can I? Can't really go into any kind of an attack mode here, but I can defend myself very well. The British are going to have to worry about defending against the other side. So this is a little discussion of stuff here. 2 little production points. Yeah, that's what I did, Constantine. The other thing is I didn't want to have the temptation to actually try and pull and get that political failure. If I don't have the production points and I'm not allowed to pull, I don't have the temptation to pull. So I don't do it. Okay, we're going to German strategic movement. Not going to move things around in the Middle East. I'm going to just go ahead and grab me an infantry, like the 2nd. Oh, the 2nd. And we're going to go flying all the way over here. We need to get him. I don't know. What do you think? I'll send him over here. Should see him come on screen here in just a second. There he is. Hanging their long railroad ride. Dun 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 dun. Okay, I'm done. The Brits, as I told you, this is SOP, people. This is the hex. This guy, you want to leave this guy on this convoy for a reason. I'll explain it in a minute. This guy has got to go there. Okay, and you go, why that hex? Number one, even if you come around this railroad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you go 1, 2, you can't go that way. So it's 1, 2. These guys can blow up the Syrian, but they can't get past you to take Beirut, which is where an Italian fleet could then base, or into Damascus, which then becomes a limited supply source for the Axis. This guy sitting here prevents all of that. Now, he could attack with 1 guy, blow this up, and try and come down here and assault you with 2. You still have a tanks marker. Your airplane's going to be out of reach for a turn, at least. So, you know, the British are kind of stretched here. Me not being able to have the BEF in the South Atlantic is hurting more than you might realize, because it would have been immediately shipped here into the Middle East to try and deal with the Turks really fast before the Germans show up. Ultimately, the goal of the British is to fall back to Kuwait, which is one of the reasons why this guy is staying on the convoy. Yes, I will move the BEF along, and it'll probably get into the South Atlantic this turn. Might even bring it as far as the Western Indian Ocean, but prefer to leave it in the South Atlantic in case the Germans decide to try and do a two-pronged pressure, invade the UK and take the Middle East. With this guy being on this convoy, I can lift him up, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He lands in Kuwait. Then, even if he gets Baghdad as an ally, conquering Syria, he'll be able to try that. You can't take both ports. I have a Brit sitting here that can possibly stop that. By the same token, if he doesn't get it and decides that he has to attack it, you've got a Brit sitting here that can go garrison Basra. So, it's not much, but it's all you got. So I have that option by leaving this guy on the convoy. That's why I moved the guy not on the convoy rather than the guy on the convoy up to this spot. And Soviets. Once again, there's really nothing to do. These are about as well placed as possible. If you see the Germans send real German armies over here, as a general rule, I will send a third army from the front. I will grab one of these armies along this river line and send them down to Turkey if I see real German armies going into Turkey to try and open up a southern attack route that way. Usually it happens if the West was successful in massively delaying the German conquest of the Middle East. Then a lot of times you'll see a German army can't make it back to the main Eastern Front, so you'll send a German army, sitting along the corner there to drag another Russian army down against it. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything. So it's the actions phase for the Germans. So I really want to make sure that I get the German armored unit into North Africa. Okay, so this is how I'm going to go about doing that. I'm going to have this Italian air attack the Med fleet. I know I'm leaving myself open to being whacked by the British air and whatnot, but I don't care. I confirm my -3 to his 0, so and I got taken out, but he's up to 3. So now he's a net -3 in poor weather, which means he has to roll a 6 to stop my naval movement. So I'm going to go ahead and move the convoy, move it here, and into the space with the German. Now, here's a big problem for the Brits. Okay. Then he moved his error. So here's my choice. Okay. If I intercept at a net of -3, if I roll a 6, great. I get 2 sorties on him. He lands in Brindisi with 5 sorties, still picks up the armor and moves down, and I will be at -4 and not able to do anything at all. If I wait until he actually is bringing the panzer down and attack then and try and get my 6, then he still will land in Benghazi, but the armor will be flipped. So it'll cost 2 points for the Germans to flip it over. That's not going to be that hard thing to do because I don't have any other intervention on his supply. He will supply that unit, let a lot of battalions, shuffle around on different supply, low supply situation. He might even let a couple of these guys go to no supply and remove them because they're just too damn many of them down here. I'm seriously thinking about doing that with the garrison unit as the Italians. Is he's going to go to no supply. I have 2 guys that are in supply, and 4 guys that I keep in supply through that convoy for the next turn. And then after that, a lot of Italians are going to go to low supply because it's like 1 Italian, 1 airplane, 1 German, 1 German airplane when it gets here. So, yeah, that kind of goes the way it goes. Oh boy. So I'm not gonna intercept this way. So I just confirm my naval path. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up the armor and naval transport it. And of course, you know, I have to take the shot there and then end up in Benghazi. Now this is the thing. There's one other thing I could do. He can supply 4 units through Tripoli and there's nothing I can do about it. So if I don't take my shot here and possibly put him up to 6, this guy would end up with 5 and he could even try to sneak a supply route through. If I roll and I miss, he's going to basically be able to supply 1 guy through Benghazi and 3 guys out here. I really need to get Force H rebuilt and sitting in Malta, it looks like. To draw his airplanes to attack me, if nothing else. Such problems. Such problems. Dang it. Not enough sorties to do anything. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm not sure what to do here. I think I want to limit its sorties, so I'm going to go after it. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I need a 6. That's all it works. And I didn't get it. Okay. And I'm going to stay there so that I can possibly supply the armor that way. And as the Italians, I'm done, believe it or not. Because with 13, that lets me go 3, 6, 9, and bring this fleet down to 2 sorties. So that's what I'm going to do with the Italians. I'm done in the Middle East for now. Now, with the Germans, I've got 24 points to spend, and I've got people to move, places to see. One of the things that we do right away is we go ahead and take the German 6th. Just going to move up towards the Russian front. Probably right there. Okay. take the Armenians. Go ahead and take this. Yeah, I'm starting to lag down here. I think I'm going to have to stop mid-turn again because I'm getting up around 2 hours. That's right, I only have one production point with the Romanians, don't I? I gotta remember to keep giving points to the Romanians if I want to move both their armies. Dum-dum. Okay, Germans. We're going to stream to the east. To here. Yes. This guy. This is kind of boring stuff that I just have to do. Streaming to the east. Uh-huh. This guy. Streaming to the east. Notice how I'm going down rail lines? I do that on purpose. If at some point I feel like I really need to rail real infantry someplace that looks threatened or whatever, then I have them on rail lines so I can take any of these guys that I'm marching and send them where they need to go. Okay? That's why you see me doing it that way. Now this guy. Maybe. Hello? Hello? You there? Wake up. We're going to go here. Maybe. Maybe the interface will let me. Go Garrison. Thank you. Ugh. My goodness. All right, this guy's going to head back. So I have 1, 2, got Norway up there, 3. And I'm going to build the other thing. So I'm going to head out. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. I'm going to go Garrison Bordeaux. Hello, Garrison Bordeaux. It's not that hard, machine. Garrison Nance. Pretty soon I won't be moving much over here at all. The next 2 or 3 turns, there'll be a few moves towards the east. Some shenanigans in the Middle East, and that'll be pretty much the end of everything that we do. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. It takes too long to move these guys. And he's going to go back over here. So he's going to replace that armored unit next turn. That puts me down to 15 again, so I don't really want to go any farther. With that. So now we have to go down here to the Middle East. We're going to do this. So if we go like this, what's it look like in the combat results table? If he throws that in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a 1 in 6 chance he holds. And if I throw mine in, it's 30 chance. So maybe I throw a second guy in here. Oh no, if I do this on the first one, right? There's a chance that I don't get through, but then I have like 2 more guys to do the assaults. At +0 to -2. Which we had at +0 to -2. What was my... Ah, grief. This is +0 to -2. It's... God. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's a 50-50 at +0 to -2. So we're going to try and do it with just one guy this time. Because then I have 2 more chances at 50-50 to kick him out of Aleppo. So I'm a net +1. He is -1. Confirm. Everybody commits everything. Oh, come on. Recommit. Not really crucial. I had multiple attacks at 50-50% chance, and it usually works this way. Take it. I will place a marker in Iraq because why not? Then interesting. Since I have the points to do it, I'm going to... Hey. Now, because of the poor weather, you'll notice I'm not allowed to assault from this hex. Because it costs 1 for the river, 2 for the mountain, that's 3, and then 2 for a unit in poor weather, that's 5. So I had more points than I had. And then this guy is going to do his run around the corner. Because he can. My goodness, Tonto. Look at this. It is way too slow. Okay. And then that's basically the Axis turn. Going to try and rebuild the Italian fleet, rebuild some German aircraft, and maybe take another swipe at the cup, although I'm almost ready to say I'm done taking swipes at the cup. The real reason why I want to try and go after the cup is if I can pull the area seized. It'd be nice to get a political success, but I'm not expecting it. If I can get an area seized and get a pro marker up here, I just find that it seems to stretch the Russians more than it hurts the Germans, but I don't know. Aggressive Russians try to go in there and conquer Finland while Germany's conquering them. I've done it. It's an interesting game. Okay, we are done with the Axis. And I'm at 2 hours here. So I am going to do my supply. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this supply so I can do something with the British. He's going to go here. He's going to go here. Confirm naval path. Now, with the Brits, the best I have is this. At -4 sorties. And then I'm +2 for British, but it's -2 for the weather in the med because it's poor. So I'm going to be -4. The best I can get is a 2. A 2 will not stop anything. And it's the only thing I have that can intercept out there. And we're in the supply phase, so I'm going to say no more interceptions for the supply phase to make this go a little faster. Because even if he sent this guy with 5, he's going to get through. Okay, this convoy here, it's right here. It's got 5 sorties on it. He can send that to supply somebody, and I can't stop him at -4 net. Because a 2, if you look at the combat results table, I think I have it up, don't I? I can get it up. If you're at -4, you roll a 6, a -4 is a 2. So no matter what the defender rolls, it's going to be an asterisk, even if he rolls once. So there's no point to wasting extra sorties on the British fleet because you can't stop it. Okay? So now I can just do shenanigans here. So if I go here, these guys are going to stay in low supply. So they've got too many things being supplied here. So we've got to not supply some things. I think we're going to leave this guy in low supply to Damascus. We're going to have that guy go to no supply. So we're going to have the fort and so we're going to keep the fort in low supply, limited supply. And we're going to keep the 8th in limited supply. What? Oh, wrong guy. No, I want the 8th in limited supply. This one. There we go. Now I would be down to maximum here, and I'm going to do a no supply on this guy. And basically I'm keeping my frontline troops in supply. I don't want him to use all 4 there, so I'm going to actually go and take the armored unit. He's going to use that convoy to be supplied. Confirm the naval path. This is something you need to know. The Germans get supplied across here, then it stops there, but you're not done supplying. You have to go trace yourself up to your home German city here, and then he gets supplied. So now I should be +3 over here. Or +3 over here. And these 2 guys are going to go down here to keep me from going up to maximum sorties. Hello. So then I'll be able to bring him down to 3 and the other guy down to 2. And my fleet and my airplane, because I have 13, which is what I was looking for. So there we go. We're going to supply that way. Keep my 2 frontline Italians in supply and my German Panzer in the hopes that I can get them to, if I can get the Panzer to the front line, that will keep the British from doing anything. And then it's going to take another couple turns before I get the full German Air Force down here, so it'll probably be December of 1940 that you'll see a really big offensive in the Middle East, which means the British are going to have time to get their stuff back. Anyway, I'm 2 hours and 10 minutes, and the game is really lagging down. So I think I'm going to stop it here, and I will pick up the Western response to Turkey coming in and running into Syria and whatnot. I pretty much know the formula to try and use. It doesn't really work. At this point, you're with the Germans committing their armor, and you know they're going to bring in air. Odds are way against you being able to actually hold Egypt. However, you do need to delay him as he's running through Egypt. And you do need to delay him on his way to Baghdad, getting Baghdad and Kuwait from the British. Is dreadfully important that you delay him as long as possible, because it's +1 for Suez against the Brits. It's +2 against the Brits and the Soviets for Basra or Kuwait. So, and that's in the strategic warfare. So it's very important to try and delay that, if at all possible, until after the Soviets are in the war, and at least get a few licks in with their +3 to +1 is what you're trying to get to. The British are going to start running out of production points here in 41 because they're going to lose some factories in the Middle East, and the strategic warfare is weighted against them right now. It's +3 to 0, and if they get Suez, it'll be +4 to 0, and if they get Basra and Kuwait, it'll be +6 to 0. Until the Americans come in, you don't even have a real glimmer of a hope, because even a 6-1 split, all it does is it gets you back a factory for a turn, and then it'll probably just disappear on the following one, because at +6, you need 5s and 6s to stay alive. And if he throws a subs at you, like if the Russians get lucky and take a factory, you know the Germans will throw their sub at you just so that they make sure they get their factory back and are always at production maximum, which is important for them to make Barbarossa work. So this is all sort of a cascading effect. All right. Anyway, like I said, I've been going almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're going to stop in the middle of October. We'll pick up with the Western actions. Normally I would stream this again on Thursday, but Thursday morning I have an appointment, so I won't be able to stream this Thursday morning. So this will come up again. I'm not sure if I'm going to stream on New Year's Day in the morning. I was thinking about possibly streaming something else on New Year's Day to add another streaming thing, but I will probably do this as well. I might try to stream twice on New Year's Day. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to stop here, guys. It's thank you, Ramon, but I don't consider it excellent. This is average, I think, as far as the allies go. I've seen some masterful allied play in my current league. Mark Dye, he's the developer. If you look in the credits, that DEY is pronounced Die, I've been told. He's currently like second highest ranked in the world on BGA, and it showed in our game. He held out against me until May of 1941. Think about that. May of 1941 is when I conquered France. That's a very, very hard game for the Axis. And he has Italy down to only having 4 will points left. So, yeah, things are not going well for the Axis in that game. I figure I can probably hold out till sometime in 1944, but the game's going to end in 1945, so I'm going to end up losing. But at least I can make it look like I had a fighting chance. I really don't think I do. Well, I'm glad you're learning something. Ramon. I do like to show people things. Constantine has been talking about, you know, doing something about the diplomacy uh, cascading effect of the Germans and whatnot. Um, by the way, Constantine, if you have not played with the current rules of diplomacy, I would strongly suggest you play a few games with them to see how it can be manipulated by both sides before just going and wholesale changing it. It's one of the reasons why Sal hasn't really put out an official optional rule for diplomacy or whatever. Because yes, you get these things where I'm getting away with you know you got to remember my chances here were uh, before this they were 1 in 4. Okay, I had three. I had 2 pro markers and a political success, and I pulled one out of 12 possible pulls. So 25% chance to make some of this stuff happen is really not that unreasonable, I don't think. I do think Turkey tips either way too easy because historically Turkey and Spain, especially Spain, um, they were masters at. Well, I just need a little bit more before I'll declare war, or I'll just need a little bit more to declare war. I need a little bit more before I declare war. I need a little bit more before I declare war. So it was much harder to get them. I mean, Turkey finally declared war when Germany was like, they were surrounded and the Allies were all in Germany, and Turkey was, oh, by the way, we're joining the war. It's like, yeah, a little late. It doesn't help. But Spain, Franco never did join the war. He said, I stayed neutral. I stayed true to my word. I stayed neutral. So leave me alone. So yeah, I see the big miners come in probably far too often, either east or west, because like if say early on, the Soviets get lucky and get a political success and pop up one in Ankara, and the Germans can't do anything, when they pull on their next turn, the Russians get another political success. At that point, you might even have the British feeding the Russians a political success that's outside the cup, throwing it in there, hoping the Russians pull a second one so that they get Turkey on their side. Because Turkey as Russian or Turkey as Western means this whole back door is closed. The Germans got to come this way. And if they're coming this way trying to get all the way to Basra, it is a very long road. I played in a game where he did not take Kuwait and Basra until 1941. He went east first. It wasn't until he had to collapse Russia in 40, and then he had to devote a bunch of stuff to taking me out in the Middle East. So it was tough. And I've had one where delayed me long enough in France that I can't do this. Mark Dye and another another player did it. Held me up till February of 41 before France fell. So there are ways to defend in France that are much better than what I've done. They usually involve putting. What's going on with my map? They usually involve putting things in contesting Norway and Denmark. And a knee-jerk reaction with the Germans is to get those guys out of my lawn. And I'm coming to find that it's probably better to just let them be on your lawn for a bit while you take out France as fast as possible, and not distract yourself with stuff off to in the miners that you've conquered. You can always come back and get them later. Well, maybe not Norway because it's across the ocean, but that's also another reason to maybe not go into Norway right away. Wait till you can go there, and all you'll fight is Brits, because fighting Brits is okay. Because you can be stretching them in the Middle East and whatnot. So, yeah. So I'm going to stop here. I've been babbling on, telling you I'm going to stop. I've been babbling for another 5 to 10 minutes. I will put up a posting on when I'm going to stream again. I probably will do it New Year's morning, We'll just see if I'm really coherent at that point. Maybe I will do it on Friday. I'm not sure. I will decide probably tomorrow or later on tonight if I'm going to try. I might try and do it on Friday and then keep my New Year's Day open for something else. Maybe that's what I'll do. Okay. Anyway, you won't see this one on Thursday. You might see it on Friday. I am streaming a video role-playing game, computer role-playing game called Bard's Tale. I am streaming that tomorrow morning. And then I usually stream that one on Sunday mornings as well. And I think that's about it. Again, commercial break here. If you like the videos, hit the thumbs up. Helps YouTube put it up in the sorting algorithms for people to find. If you like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notify button, then you'll know when I'm uploading another video or when I'm scheduling another stream. And as always, I am Dren608. Until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye. If I can